Negative 2.5 times k equals negative 3.5 using algebra. So algebraically we're solving this one. So this means negative 2.5 times k. So we're going to have to do the opposite of times. We're going to divide by negative 2.5. So here's the original part of the left side, and we're going to divide by negative 2.5. Now if we do that on the left, we have to do that on the right to keep the equal sign correct. So 3.5 divided by negative 2.5 goes on the right. We know that opposite operations cancel each other out. So that leaves us with just k on the left-hand side. But now we've got this thing to calculate on the right-hand side. Negative 3.5 divided by negative 2.5. So 3.5 is an improper fraction. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. So this becomes 7.5, negative 7.5. This one, 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. So this becomes negative 5.5. Now at this point, personally, negative divided by a negative, we know becomes positive. So we could just drop our negatives. The notes here are not dropping it yet, but we'll get there. So, we've moved our negative signs in this row to be, instead of in the middle, to the top numbers. And if you remember, if you've got a common denominator with fractions and you're dividing, that's an okay place to be. You can drop your denominators at that point, and then this becomes negative 7 divided by negative 5. When you do that, negative 7 divided by negative 5, you can drop the negatives then, and it becomes 7 over 5. And that 5 goes into 7 once, with 2 remainder, so it can be written as 1 2/5. So that's the process there. Now you could also multiply by the reciprocal. You could have gone, I'll just do it over here on the side, negative 7/2 times 2 over negative 5. You could have done that, and then this would be negative 14 over negative 10. You can drop the negatives at that point because negative divided by negative is positive. And then 14 and 10 can be reduced down to 7 over 5. Divide top by 2, divide bottom by 2, and you get to the same point. Either way of dividing works. This is the more common technique, but some people like the common denominator technique as well. Now that we've done our calculation, we need to verify it. So the original left side is negative 2.5 times k. The original right side is negative 3.5. Take your 7/5 answer and substitute it in for k, so negative 2.5 times 7/5. Negative 2.5 is negative 5.5, or negative 5 halves. Multiply them. Negative 5 times 7 becomes negative 35. 2 times 5 is 10. 10 goes into the negative 35 3 times. That leaves 5 remainder. And then you can reduce that as well. So that becomes negative 3 1/2. So the two sides are equal. Negative 3.5, negative 3.5. So you've confirmed that your answer is correct. K is equal to 7/5. All right, another show you know. Give it a go.